Earth boxes, quite possibly the best thing since sliced bread. What's up, YouTube? A little bit of everything Southern Homestead here. Today we're going to talk earth box gardening. Let's go. Alright, YouTube. Today we're going to discuss the earth box gardening planter. If you're not familiar with it, check out their website. I think it's earthbox.com. Essentially it's a roto-molded kind of plastic container. See if you can see the inside there. It's got a little elevated system, a drain hole. Comes with watering fill pipe. This is a mesh screen on the bottom. Separates the dirt from the water reservoir. And it also comes with a cover to keep the soil from drying out during dry times of the climate, especially this time of year. So we'll show you how it goes together. We'll show you how it works. Today we're going to plant some Brussels sprouts in this earthbox container, and believe it or not, Earthbox recommends 6. That's right, 6 Brussels sprouts for this one little container. Earthbox can also sell you the additives to go in, as far as the soil conditioners, the fertilizers, and all that. I don't opt for that. I have a bunch of stuff that I'll show you here in the video. Go ahead and make this soil rich and nutritious for the plants we're going to be planting. So let's put it together. So inside the container, you'll see these 2 cutouts. They line up with the plastic ridges on the bottom, just like that. And then you'll see here there's a hole, which is where the drain tube or the fill tube will go. Alright, and it's that simple. So the next thing we'll do is we'll fill it with dirt about halfway. We'll add some lime and a few other things. We'll fill it up, add some fertilizer to the top, just like they recommend, and we'll plant these Brussels sprouts. Let's get it. Alright. So there's no real preference on the type of mixture, but just have to make sure it's a potting mix and not a potting soil. Here I have one brand. Behind me I have Miracle-Gro. I'll mix the 2, I'll add just 1. No real rhyme or reason, just make sure it's a potting mix, because if you put potting soil in these containers, it doesn't work as intended. So like I said, we'll fill it up about halfway. I think they hold about 2 cubic yards, maybe a little less. So as you can see, it's about halfway. And if you recall, these 2 corners here, and I'm wearing gloves just so you can see my hands real easy, and we're gonna be messing with a whole bunch of organic fertilizers and non-organic fertilizers. So just to make sure that everything stays clean. So in these corners, you really want to press down the potting mix, because that's what's called the wicking wells. Like I said, this container, it holds water below that mesh grating. That way the dirt can constantly absorb water as the plants needs it. And all you have to do is just fill up the planter every couple of days through this tube, and it's good to go. They say by doing that and not watering on the top of the plant, you'll prevent diseases from getting down to the roots and other bacteria and different things that can harm the plant. So you want to pack it in pretty good, especially in those corners, because that's where the water is going to wick up through the dirt. If you watch Gardening with Leon, he's got a whole bunch of information about wicking tubs, wicking buckets. He makes some type of planter that 18-wheeler drivers can use, where you can pretty much go an entire month without having to water it. Just check out his channel, Gardening with Leon. A lot of the things that I add, I'm kind of a hybrid combination between what Mr. Leon does, and then there's another guy named Texas Prepper 2 who I follow as far as wicking tubs for blackberry growing goes. So here we go. Brussels sprouts like a little bit more basic soil, so we're going to add some lime. Some people say a cup. I don't really measure it. Just a couple handfuls here. Spread that throughout. So some lime. This is some dried out salt water, so it's some sea minerals. And this is just natural minerals that you can add to the soil that the plants need. And then the last thing that we add a good bit of is this 464 Sustain. This is a slow release fertilizer that really gives the soil the nutrients it needs for the long term for the plants. Mr. Leon talks about this at length on his channel, so go ahead and check out that for more information. So I'll add 2 big handfuls here, and I'll kind of mix that in. And then now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and top off the rest of the planter to the height that we want. Some people say top it off to where it makes a dome, so when water from rain or whatever hits, it doesn't just pool on the plants, it'll actually go over the sides. And I'll explain that later as we put the plants in and the cover on. This particular brand of potting mix has quite a bit of perlite already in it. That's the little white foam crumbles you see. If I'm using one that doesn't have a whole lot, I'll go ahead and add some, but that won't be necessary today. But the perlite that I use is this Stay Green Organic when I do use it. All right, so from here, we need a little more soil. And then what Earthbox recommends is you make a trench right in the middle. And this is where, if you buy their products, their fertilizers and other soil additives, they'll make you add it. So if you can see that right here, there's a trench. And what I use here is an all-purpose 10-10-10. About a handful of that. Just right in the trench. And then I use this organic plant tone fertilizer. And the 10-10-10 is a slower release. This one is more of an instantaneous, so another handful or so right in that trench. From there, you'll cover it back up. Add soil to the top. All right, now we're ready to plant. There it is. One Earthbox filled and ready to plant. So I spun the Earthbox around to where you can see the drain hole there, and that's where the water comes out once the reservoir is completely full. We're gonna go ahead and plant some Brussels sprouts here, and then we'll water them in. When I do water them in, typically I'll use rainwater, but it's been real dry here in South Louisiana, so the rain has been very sparse and I'm out of water. So my alternative, since I don't have a well, is I use city water with an ISO-pure water purifier. And what this does is it takes the chlorine out of the water and prevents from killing any micronutrients and harming the plants. And I'll put a link to this description in below, and the Amazon link. They come 2 to a pack, which works out pretty good for me. I put 1 on my hand waterer and then 1 on my in-ground waterer from my garden. So the cover, you have white or black. You know, depending on if you want the plants to stay warmer. In a cooler climate, you'd probably put black up. We still have some days where it's hitting 90 or above for the high, so there's a hole, if you can see that. You put the hole over the fill tube, and you'll simply just stretch the cover out over the planter, like that. to take a blade. So Earthbox recommends 6 plants, so it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 per Earthbox when it comes to Brussels sprouts. Other plants they recommend 2, 1, 10, 12, depending if it's lettuce, cabbage, or anything else. So we'll go ahead and cut a few holes in the box here to be able to put our plants. And what we'll do, and this is kind of a tedious task, but it's well worth it in the end, especially with the results. And if you continue to follow the channel, you'll see these Brussels sprouts grow and how well they do in these earth boxes. If you notice, I'm wearing overalls, as it's my personal opinion that you can't simply talk about Leon without wearing his type of clothing. He wears overalls all day, every day. So there you go. That's one planted in the earth box. I'll get the rest of them planted, and then I'll show you how we water it in. Alright, so we got the earth box completely planted in here. 6 Brussels sprouts in 1 earth box. This bag of soil was 2 cubic feet. I had used a little bit out of it, but it took the rest of the bag for this earth box, so about 2 cubic feet of soil. So now what we're going to do is we're going to water it in again. Isopure filter on the city water, prevent any chlorine or anything from getting into the plants. Since this is a first time planting, we will water at the top of the plants, and then we'll fill the fill tube here so it fills up the reservoir at the bottom. But then after this initial watering, we're only going to fill the fill tube until the water comes out right here at this drain hole for the reservoir. Once it comes out here, we know it's full and there's no more need for water. The plant's roots will simply grow down to the water. Once they get there, they'll absorb the water they need. There'll also be a small gap of air in here, and it allows the roots to what's called air prune. So it'll prevent them from becoming root bound should we try to grow something long term in here and not have it become root bound and you know, kill the plant or cause any issues with the growth of the plant. So we'll put it on shower mode here, and we'll just lightly water around each plant just to kind of wet the root system in, help compress the soil around the root system. And like I said, preventing that chlorine from coming through the city water onto the plants is just healthier for the plants, prevents any micronutrient death, and allows the plants just to be more healthy here. So I'm gonna see if I can back this box up, maybe where you can see the water come out of the reservoir hole. So I'm gonna start filling the tube here. Again, this tube goes directly under the soil. There's a reservoir there. It's gonna hold, I wanna say, a gallon or a gallon and a half of water is what Texas Prepper reported. And look, these boxes are pretty expensive. I believe they do a sale around Black Friday. But Texas Prepper reports some lady he knows who's used these boxes for over 10 years. So at the current price, they're about $40 a piece. If it lasts you 10 years, that's pretty good, $4 a year. Obviously the soil will have to be replenished and all those things, the nutrients, the plants, but it's well worth it in the end if they last that long. The reason I'm using these boxes this year is because my winter garden always seems to be ruined by the neighbor's oak trees. When their leaves fall, they land on my plants or in my plants, and as those leaves decay, if I don't catch them, it'll actually cause harm to the plant and to the fruit I'm trying to grow. So let's see. I don't know if you can see, but there's some water that came out of that reservoir right there, so I know it's full. And it's pretty heavy, but I'll be able to put it exactly where I want under my little canopy here to help protect it from the hot heat of the sun. Again, this is the end of September, so by the time you see this, it'll probably be October, the beginning. The highs are in the 90s, the lows are in the 60s, and these plants still need to be babied just a little bit longer. until it's time to put them out to full sun. Thanks for watching this video. A little bit of everything Southern Homestead, appreciates it. If you could hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell, we'll bring you another one. And like I always say, get outside and do something. Your life may depend on it one day.